All right. Today I want to touch on presence and doorways to the divine. And for me, these two are very interlinked because pure presence is one of my doorways to the divine. And I found it in a bit of a roundabout way. Um, so let me back up a second. A doorway to the divine. What do I mean when I'm talking about this? So, you know, in this world, we've got our astrology, our human design, Myers-Briggs. We love to learn about ourselves, right? We love to learn about ourselves because it helps us make sense of certain things. It helps our brains to orient to, oh, okay, this is what I'm like. This is what they're like. Different character styles. So I was reading this book called Faith Shift. And in it were 9 sacred pathways by Gary Thomas on doorways to the divine. And I had come across them a few times in years past, but this time really made me like take notice because I had been in this world of self-discovery of gene keys and I'm a generator. What does that mean? Human design, all these things. So I started looking into these doorways to the divine and recognizing myself and others. And when I stopped to think about what was my actual gateway into mysticism, into a deeper relationship, a deeper personal relationship with the divine, because I've always had a very, I guess I'll call it like social cultural relationship with the church growing up. But what was my like opening into awakening? And for me, it was through pure presence, which I didn't realize for years and years and years. But my doorway and my gateway to that was actually through service and travel. So for years, I had the incredible opportunity to travel to many, many places with nonprofits, with impact work, with projects, and I was obsessed. And if you would have asked me at that time, it would have been like travel is one of my favorite things in the world. To see newness, to experience and feel things that I had never felt before, tasted before. And I thought I was just obsessed with travel. What I've come to realize is that those travel experiences, walking for water with women in Haiti, being in the slums of Kenya, being on the busy streets of Vietnam, being in the beautiful rice fields of Bali, walking the cobblestone streets of Europe, being on safari in Kenya. You're like all of these things that I've never experienced before were allowing me to be in pure presence. I was not thinking about my to-do list or was what I was wearing okay? Or what was that other person doing? And did I need to react in some way, right? Like all of the busy spinning thoughts in my head settled. And I could truly be in the moment. I could be in pure presence. And from there, I started running retreats for myself and for others. I now teach people how to run retreats. I run events for a living because I'm obsessed with pure presence. And I believe that pure presence is one of the best gifts that we can give to ourselves and that we can give to others. And through events, through retreats, through workshops, I get to create these environments that pop people out of their heads and into their hearts, that allow them to be with what is and not worry about what was or what is to come. Do you get that? So like in a workshop, in a retreat, in any kind of experience that I create, one of my goals is that they are allowed and welcomed and invited and encouraged to be fully there, right there, nowhere else, in pure presence. Because that's where magic happens. When we can be with what is. Because if we can be with what is, then we are in truth. We are not caught in a story of what happened. We are not caught in worry of what may be. The only truth is what is happening right now in this very moment. Even things that have happened in the past, they may be versions of the truth, right? They may be remembered through a certain lens of where you were then or where you are now. So the only truth is in pure presence. And that is one of my doorways to the divine. And it is an experience I'm obsessed with. And it's why I love to create experiences. It's why I encourage retreats. It's why I teach others how to run retreats with confidence and attunement so that they can be in the gift of pure presence and give others the gift of pure presence. Okay, so that's one of my doorways. That's one of my doorways to the divine. I'm going to go through some of these others, and I invite you to just think about these, to ponder them, to contemplate them, knowing I have many of these and you have many of these, but there are so many ways to experience the divine, which is one of the many reasons that I love mysticism and returning to this more feminine faith, because it's not in this realm of black and white, right and wrong. You only experience the divine in the church. There's so many ways to experience the divine, to experience God, to experience universal love. That's, your word, your flavor, your essence of something greater. So I'll list these all in the show notes, but one of the doorways to the divine, again, these are from the 9 Sacred Pathways by Gary Thomas. There are more, like pure presence, I don't think is in this list, but that is one of mine for sure. Another one of mine that is in this list is the naturalist, loving the divine outdoors. So naturalists connect through the divine through nature. They learn their best lessons out of doors, visualizing truth, seeing the divine more clearly. They feel free and unrestricted when they are outside. This is for sure one of mine. I love walking through the trees. I love being outside in sunset. This is something that was actually instilled in my family. This morning, my family chat is full of pictures of the moonrise yesterday on the East Coast at my parents' house. I sent them pictures of the moon set today on the West Coast here in California. My sister sent a picture of a sunflower reaching for the moon. My brother sent a picture of him and his son eating breakfast outside. Like, we've been taught from a very young age, and maybe it just runs through us, that there's something special about being outside and that we are in nature. And something that I say often is that, like, nature's incredible, nature's a miracle, and we are nature. We aren't separate from it. Yes, there are trees that are rooted. We are not. How amazing that we can travel this globe. But just like the symbiosis in nature and how everything works, that can be a whole nother tangent and topic. Naturalists, loving the divine outdoors. Nature is a beautiful gateway to the divine. Another one on this list by Gary Thomas is sensates. Connecting through the divine through the senses. Through art, through textures, through music, through smell, through food. I have a dear friend and mentor who, being with her as she experiences through the divine through senses is an experience. Whether it's smells or food or the way that she loves to she'll be like, oh, taste this. And maybe it's a fig and cheese or a piece of perfectly flavored chocolate. And the way that she takes it into her whole body, she has she has a divine experience. and has taught many of us in her circle, in her presence, to slow down and have these divine experiences. Um, so through the senses is another beautiful doorway through the divine. Another one on this list are traditionalists that connect to the divine through ritual and symbol. These are the ones that love to say specific prayers, specific chants, that really observe holy days. And holy days might not just mean through organized religion, right? It could be traditionalists that really celebrate astrological changes, full moons, new moons, that connect through ritual, that connect through symbol. And there are some really beautiful practices. If you haven't ever experienced a ritual of any kind, I really encourage you to do so. And again, one of the things that I love about mysticism is the bridge where we can open and expand, right? And so someone who's been raised their whole life, maybe in the Catholic Church or in the organized church, might see a full moon ritual and go, what the heck? Like, what are they doing? This is crazy. Or maybe even like a first moon cycle, meaning a woman's first period, first blood, like honoring that time period is an important ritual in some cultures and an important ritual that we've lost. And some people may think that is wackadoo. That's bizarre. Yet someone who's never, ever experienced organized religion, right, may see something as a first communion or a baptism and be like, what's happening over there? Right? So even though organized religion has rituals, they have, prayers that you say between certain times. The Catholics have a symbol of touching, forehead down, shoulder. And these are rituals and symbols just in their own right. So we get to love and accept all of them. And these are traditionalists. Through the doorway, through the divine, is these symbols and these rituals, which I believe also bring people into pure presence. So that's one. Another one is, Gary Thomas calls them aesthetics, but these are loving the divine through silence and solitude. It's through simplicity. These are the ones that really find the divine. They love being alone. They make room for quiet. Sometimes they fast. They pray. These are those, like my mom loves going on silent retreats. She loves connecting to the divine through silence. And again, I'm going to plug my pure presence because I believe it's really at the heart of all of this, right? And those who love to just slow down and be alone. And this may mix, right, with the naturalists. Maybe they love being alone in nature. This may mix with the traditionalists. Maybe they love being alone to perform rituals or with certain sacred symbols. So that solitude is also a doorway through the divine. On the other side of the coin, we've also got activists who really feel connected and love the divine through social justice. They are fighting for the underdogs. They're battling for a cause. They advocate on the behalf of others. So that is one of a beautiful, it's on the other side though, right? It's not through solitude. It's actually through connection. And it's through sticking up for someone else, and it's taking on a cause, all in the name of love, all in the name of love. So they offer their time and their energy to create change. These are the change makers. And this is how they connect with the divine. You've also got the caregivers. And feel like the difference here, right? Like both is in love, both are in service to other. And the caregivers, they love to care. And this can be in a variety of ways, listening and actively helping, repairing broken things for others. They feel close to the divine when they're engaged with other people. Maybe they work in shelters. Maybe it's just a neighborhood loving woman who just loves to take care of all the children, right? Like the caregivers in our community are connecting to the divine through service, through love, slightly different than the activists who are usually taking up a cause of a group, who are, protesting signs, making laws, all of these things. But the caregivers are beautifully important, and they connect to the divine by loving others. Then we've got the enthusiast. So enthusiasts love connecting to the divine through like worship experiences and looking for movements of the divine, both big and small, in every interaction. So they are just like on fire, right? Like you can imagine, or for those of you who've been in the church, you can imagine these who've been in the church, that they are just like on fire for the divine power, what God can do. They are fueled by dreams and visions. And it's so beautiful. And you can find this outside of the church too, right? Those who are just on fire for the world and for love and the way that they connect through the divine, the enthusiast. We've also got, we're getting towards the end of the list, and I'll list these all so you don't have to remember them, but I think it's super fascinating to kind of think about all the different ways that you can connect through the divine. So contemplative. So they connect to the divine through adoration and resting in divine presence. And I've got a little like mini episode there on contemplation. I've got a 30 days of contemplation little guide if you want to take a look at that, because there are so many ways to connect to the divine through contemplation. And this is definitely a big doorway. So they love spending time in different forms of prayer, meditation. It could be through dance. It could be through labyrinth walks. It could be reflected stations. And it's a little different than the solitude, right? Solitude might just be opening, stillness, seeing what comes through. The contemplatives, like they're usually walking a labyrinth with a prayer or an intention, or they're visiting different stations, or maybe going through a rosary, right? There's different ways, but it's always with the intention of connecting with the divine, of creating the space for that. And so the last one we'll touch on are the intellectuals. And these are the ones that love the texts and the theology and the creeds and philosophy and conversations about religion and about the divine. And it's a very mental, but it's a beautiful way of connecting. So that is the last of, at least of the 9 Sacred Pathways by Gary Thomas. And it's funny, I kind of started this thinking that Pure Presence was another one. However, I think that these are all actually gateways into pure presence and gateways into the divine. Like even the intellectual and loving the divine with the mind. If you're studying a text, chances are you're in pure presence. You're not in your head and in your mind thinking about something that happened earlier or something that's going to happen later, or like just kind of letting the wheels spin, right? Like you're in your own sense of pure presence. So there's a list of doorways to the divine. And I'm sure there are many others. I would love to hear, what are your specific doorways to the divine? What are the ways that you connect with God, with something greater, with universal love? Yeah, I would just love to know. And I love having these conversations. So thank you for listening. As always, you can find me on Instagram to chat it up a little bit. If you are interested in just the 30 days of contemplation, that's on the Mystic Bloom website, as well as exploring your spiritual signature, which doesn't have these doorways, but maybe I'll add that. But that's more about just like questions of different ways you practice, different things that may come up that may help you orient to more organized religion, more spirituality, or more mysticism, knowing that it's a fluid spectrum, it's an exploration, but it also has some journal prompts that you could sit with. Like, what does God mean to you? Do you identify with that word? Do you identify with a different word? So in that exploration, I encourage you to explore your doorways. And thank you for listening, and chat soon.